Oh, yeah.
Bless and love, my lords. Welcome to our Red Lion space. We are an art first, chill second, pretentious never community. None of that gallery snobbery or bull run billionaire bullshit. We're just bringing you honest opinions on crypto art, Web3. No sponsors, no hidden agenda, no rugs. What do we say yes to? We are all about partnerships, all about artists. You are here for cool shit, and we are here to deliver. Introducing our co-hosts for today, we have Dudley, Red Lions co-founder, and our dear friend Amina. How's it going, fellas? How are you?
Hey guys, hello everyone. Welcome to the show.
Hello, hello. Welcome, everyone. And welcome, Ryan. We're so happy to have you here with us.
Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to this. And I've never heard an intro song like that before. It was fabulous. Loved it.
Thank you so much. It was the first time we are playing it. We will release it soon, but we will get into that.
It was worth.
Um, so today's guest, we have a prolific and profound guest, as you all know him, Mr. Ryan Carson. He's a UK-based investor and entrepreneur, Web3 founder, and OGs. He has worked on projects such as Moonbirds, Proof, Treehouse, Carson Fight, Drop Send, so many big projects. Thank you so much for joining the show, Ryan, and very nice to meet you. How
No
are you?
problem. Good to be here. And I've since moved from the UK. I'm in the US on the East Coast, but I lived in the UK for 12 years. So I had a good time there. But yeah, fun to be here. Appreciate you getting everybody together. If I doing interviews on Twitter Spaces is way more fun. So I'm glad that we're doing this as a space.
Yeah, well, there is something about like talking live with someone as an interview and experience the conversation live that I think hits better than just having recorded conversations where we can like curate, you know.
Amen. Love it.
Some of the rough parts come out. But let's start how we always start, since you are a punk. Why don't you go ahead and share with us your punk story?
Yeah. So I always dreamed about having a punk, and was able to pick up my first one. I think it was, gosh, it's like time is just blurring. I can't remember exactly. It was sometime in 2021. And I picked up my first punk. And then the price crashed after the whole V1, V2 thing came out. And so I thought, oh, I'll do a bit of like tax loss harvesting and sell, and then grab another one. And I sold, and then the price pumped, and so I had to like buy back in at a higher price. But once I stepped away from Moonbirds, I decided, I went actually just with my normal photo for my PFP for a while, and then I thought, I want to pick one NFT to be my forever PFP. And I thought, punks are historic. They'll always have their place, in history, and it'd be really fun to grab one, and just keep it as my punk, as my PFP, ideally forever. I wanted to pick one that looked a little bit like me. I'm a white guy, so picked someone like that. And then, ironically, I chose a woman because I think that the jawline is nicer than the men. So
Yeah, there are these punks are a little bit non-binary, someone might say.
yeah, so I like her. She's got nerd glasses. I love the mohawk. I just thought this is rad. And I just changed the background to green. That'll become more clear in the future why, but I thought it was kind of fun.
What was your entry price?
I think, gosh, I can't remember what I got her at. It feels like maybe 99 ETH, something like that ish. I think I overpaid, but
You came in on the higher spectrum of things.
yeah, I wanted the right look for me. So I just thought I'm just gonna go grab that. I think I overpaid, but I'm not planning on selling her anytime soon. So
Oh, that's very fun. You know, we chat with a lot of punks on these interviews here, and I hear a lot of stories about how people got their punks and how they bought and sold, and it's very therapeutic also for myself to listen about other people's sometimes blunders with punks or sometimes regrets. You
I
know.
know it's always
Um,
terrifying, like to move your punk around. It stresses me out. Like I got a
Oh,
new
yes.
cold wallet, just to like triple down on security. And that moment when you're logged into the CryptoPunk site and you click transfer, it's like, oh man, I really hope I got this right.
I was talking with Nate about this. Like, no matter how advanced of a user you are, when you are moving something that means a lot to you, like, there's a few moments that your heart is pumping like
Oh, it's
mad.
so stressful.
For
My
sure.
God, yeah. Because like you copy and paste the address so many times, you're like, I'm sure it's correct, and even read it. So
Do you even trust your clipboard
I
at these
know. Oh my
moments, right?
God. So anyway, it's a lot of fun. But I just feel blessed, to be able to have a punk, and it's kind of fun. Um, but uh, but it's just been, this industry has been amazing, and I'm so thankful. There's a lot of daily dosers in the crowd. Hello, good to see you all. Love you all. Appreciate you all. So it's fun to be here with everybody.
In anticipation for this interview, I went in and I watched a lot of content and other interviews that you did. And that sort of canceled a lot of my questions and my questioning line because it's all been answered. But if you want to go ahead and give us a very quick TLDR about your previous not previous career, but like your
Kind of previous
uh
projects, stuff I've done.
yeah, before
Yeah,
Web3.
sure. So grew up in Colorado in America, and I thought I was going to be a pastor in the church. So I was really into the community at church, and I thought that's the direction I was going. And my dad brought home an Apple IIe computer in I think it was 1987. I need to double check, but it was early, and I just fell in love with tech. I was just drawn to it, and started messing around with the computer. And then as time went on, I was just about to go into college. It was like 1996, and the internet was really starting to happen. And so I started reading books about HTML and websites, and started, messing around with coding. And the thing that really changed my life was my high school math teacher. Her name was Miss Bruce. And I was walking down the hallway one day, and she stopped me and she said, "Hey, you should take our programming course." And I was like, "What's programming?" And she said, "It's where you tell the computer what to do and it does it." And I was like, wow, that sounds amazing. Because I had just played with games and things. So I learned Pascal, Turbo Pascal, which is a language, and just fell in love with this ability to create out of nothing. You can just create. Coding is one of the most creative activities, I think, on earth. And so fell in love with that. And then I decided, well, I can always be a pastor someday, or do that, but I'm going to go study computer science. So ended studying computer science. And then right as I was about to graduate, my parents were getting divorced, and I just kind of wanted to get out. And so I decided I was just going to move to a different country. So I picked England, and I got a job as a web developer in Cambridge, just a little like literally a web design company. And then I really fell in love with the open source camaraderie of the internet culture. So back then, everybody was writing Flash, if anybody remembers that, and ActionScript, and everybody was sharing their files, and it was just beautiful. And there was a specific artist. It's interesting because now he's a famous Web3 artist. His name is Joshua Davis, and he had a site called PlayStation and Dreamless, and he would just give away his code, and it was amazing. So I started to boot up a community called By Designers for Designers, and this was literally a meetup. So this is like the year 2001. I was in London. I had a good friend named Ryan, and we just decided to get people together at a bar. Like, let's hang out. Let's talk about web design and web development. Let's meet each other, and let's see what happens. And we called it By Designers for Designers, or BD40. And, like 30 people showed up, and it was a blast. And I realized, oh, I love this. I love getting people together, and I love, seeing each other, and encouraging each other, and sharing ideas, and supporting each other. And so we did another one, and I think the next one was in Brighton, and then the next one was in Manchester. And then we started getting requests from people in different countries saying, "Hey, we want to do a BD40 event." So we got a request in Paris and Sydney and just everywhere. So we said, "Great, yeah, just run these meetups, and we'll put everything on a website." And it was amazing. So we ended up doing like 45 events across the world in 8 different countries. And this was all just for fun. Like I had my day job as a web developer, and at night we would run this meetup thing. And it just really it really lit my passion for connecting people through a shared interest. And it's kind of ironic because that BD40 ended up being the reason I met my wife. So she was the editor of a magazine. They did a story on us, and we met in a coffee shop, and I fell in love. So that's how I ended up getting married through all that. So that kind of fast forward to 2004, and I was just a web developer, and I started to see everybody launch companies. And if you all remember, 37 Signals launched a product called Basecamp, and they really started this revolution, called SaaS, or software as a service. And the message is very clear. Like, hey, anybody can start a business that solves a problem, charge people $25 a month, and if you get 1,000 customers, you can build a business. And I was like, yeah, I could do that. And so the first business I started was a business to send large files, because in 2004 you couldn't do that. And so I thought, I can build a PHP app, that uploads files and then stores them on the server and then sends out a link to download them. And I think people will want that. So I quit my job. We got married the same year, and I started my first company, and it failed. So it was a disaster. It turns out I didn't know anything about how enterprise sales, and it was a B2B product, and I didn't even know that. I was like, oh, I got to sell this to businesses, and I don't know how to do that. And so I think I sold 2 licenses. So that was the first business that failed. And then I just kept iterating, and then, fast forward all the way to today. It's been a fun journey.
I'm curious, and this is sort of a question that is my thing. It fascinates me to hear different people's opinion on this. So it's sort of a reoccurring question of the show. Why do you think people connect with Web3 projects emotionally and in such a deep level when they never used to do that for Web 2.0 projects? What is the difference that is clicking with people in such a way?
Yeah.
Because I think it's undeniable that there is an emotional connection that there wasn't there in other types of technology or
absolutely
eras of technology.
Yes, it is very different. I think it's a couple things. I think the community is small still. So this to me feels very much like Web 2 felt like, I would say, back in 2006. So, Twitter had just launched, and it was so small. Seriously, y'all. I ran a conference. So my second or third business was a education company, and we did in-person training, taught people how to code in real life. And we started doing conferences, and the world is just so small. I emailed the reason why I know Kevin Rose and we're good friends is because I emailed Kevin at dig.com and said, will you speak at my conference? And he said yes. And then we became friends. And then I emailed, Zuck at facebook.com, and he replied, and then he, spoke at my conference. It was just so small, and it was intimate and connected. And, we could
what did he speak about at the time?
Who, Zuck or Kevin?
Yeah, Zuck.
I did an interview with him. It was like a fireside chat. So I interviewed him in 2008, and we just talked about the journey of him building Facebook. And he's a fascinating person, by the way. He's so interesting in person. So
the record, he's more likable, or
is
he not so robotic? I don't know.
He is. He's just he doesn't give away much with his eyes. So like when you speak to people in person, you can read their eyes, and I just couldn't read him. It was interesting. But he was genuine, and he's a real person. And I think someone like him just gets an unbelievable amount of FUD, and I just can't imagine how hard his life is, seriously. So not that I agree with anything Facebook has done, but I think we should give people usually the human benefit of the doubt. But so the world is small. My point is, back in 2006, the web world is small, and it feels like that right now in Web3. Like, we're all hanging out in spaces together. We pretty much know everybody, right? And I think layer on top of that this idea that you can truly own your assets and you are a sovereign individual with a wallet. And I think once you layer on that on top of the small community, it really unlocks a power. That power can be used for bad as well as good. We see a lot of caustic behavior in the space where people are attached to numbers that are going up or down, and that can be hard on everybody. But I think it leads to really strong relationships as well. Like I see people in the audience, from Daily Dose, and we are becoming friends. I mean, I see Leslie in the audience, Teacher in the audience, Sam, the lawn wrangler, like Barbie. I mean, these are all people that show up to Daily Dose, and I know them. Silent Mode, Stella. It just, the list goes on, right? Gray Stars. I can see you sending me hearts. Yeah, yo, it's your boy Gray Stars. So yeah, you become connected to these communities, and I love it. And we're trying to add as much humanity and kindness and support as we can with Daily Dose. And we're starting to do a bunch of global meetups, which are all run by the community, and there's these global Twitter spaces that are all run by the community.
Yeah, I saw that you made a post about the meetup. So many people came there.
It's crazy.
That was incredible.
It's run by the community. I don't do any of that, right? So Crop Circle, the Judean Ape, a bunch of people, ET, like they made that meetup happen, and I just literally showed up on a train with my wife. And that's the power of real community. And we're not, I think part of this, oh gosh, it's hard because as soon as you try to monetize a community, it can go sideways. And I think that's why BD40, the By Designers for Designers event worked so well for us back in 2000, because we didn't try to make any money out of it. And I have no plans on making money out of Daily Dose. We're just going to try to cover our costs, and we'll always add value versus extract it. And I think that's key. As soon as people smell that you're trying to monetize them, they're smart, and nobody will fall for that. And I think that's one great thing about Web3. It's very clear. So that was a very long answer.
That's fine, but you stayed on question. Yeah.
I tried. Sorry.
So no, these are wonderful answers, and thank you for sharing about how you met your wife. I mean, I think sometimes we forget that there is a whole different in real life outside of Web3. And speaking of Web3, what exactly kind of led you into the transition from Web2 to Web3? Was there a particular project? Was there particular communities that kind of brought you in here? We'd love to hear about that as well.
So the very first time I encountered the blockchain was Bitcoin. And back in 2012, some of my employees at Treehouse were mining it. And I walked by their desk. We had a little tiny office in Florida, and I walked by their desk and I'm like, what is that machine doing? And they're like, well, it's mining Bitcoin. And I was like, what's that? And they said, well, it's basically digital money. And I was like, wow, okay. And as soon as they said it, I was like, of course, like, I'm a digital native. I'm a technical optimist. Like, oh yeah, that makes total sense. And then, oh, interesting. It's a global blockchain that's decentralized, not controlled by anybody. Like, that is so fascinating. And so I started to mine. I think I had a laptop, and just kind of cranked it a little bit, and I completely lost it. I have no clue where that laptop is or any of my Bitcoin. Then I bought a bunch of Bitcoin at Mt. Gox and lost it all. And then I just kind of forgot about the blockchain for a while. I was 100% focused on Treehouse, and Treehouse was my last company that where we taught students how to code. So I just was all in on that. Was focusing on, how do we empower people to learn how to code so they can, create generational wealth for their families. And then the person that brought me back was Kevin Rose, 100%. So Kevin and I have been friends. He was the very first investor in Treehouse. I met him way back when we were doing conferences, and we would do podcasts together and hang out. We both lived in Portland, Oregon, and he said to me, "Hey, I've got a new podcast called Modern Finance. Like, you should listen to it." And Treehouse, this was like 2020, I think. I can't remember. And so I started to listen to the podcast, and then I listened to that episode where he interviewed DC Investor, and DC explained what an NFT was. And I literally had to pull the car over because I was listening to it as I was driving and like absorb it, because I knew it was going to change the world. I was like, oh my God, every asset on earth is going to be tokenized and put in the blockchain, and this will change everything. And so at that point I was just red pilled hard, and I just went down the rabbit hole and, watched every single A16Z crypto video and watched, learn how to write smart contracts and went all in. And then when Treehouse was acquired, I grabbed a proof pass. I just said to Kevin, "Hey, I'd love to, grab a proof pass and join the community." And I just joined as a member of the community. And then, the rest is history. So,
how was that connection with Kevin and Justin? You created an incredible project together, and I can assume that at times there were also some daydreams and disconnections of ideas. Could you tell us a little more about that backstage?
Yeah. So, like I said, Kevin and I were good friends. And so I said, hey, I'd like to join Proof just as a member. And I did that, and then kind of got in there, and so Kevin and Justin are the co-founders, right? I was just an employee. I'm not a co-founder. And so Justin was around, but I hadn't met him. I knew of him, but I hadn't met him. And then eventually got to know him a little bit. And eventually I just said to Kevin, why don't I join as the COO? Because I'm basically in the Proof Discord 10 hours a day, and my kids think I'm a Discord mod now. And so I think I could be helpful. And so he said, "Yeah, well, why don't you join the team and, let's boot this thing up." And so at that point we just started working, and Kevin said, "I have this idea for Grails." And Grails is this really fun, essentially game that Kevin thought up, where you get 20, the world's best artists, you have them do art, but nobody knows who they are. And then you have to pick the piece based off of the art. And it was just so much fun. So I, helped him and Justin launch that. And then we did our first company offsite. It was literally just us three. We went to Mexico, and Kevin said, I think it's time that we expand the community and launch a 10K PFP so that more people can be a part of the Proof ecosystem. And then we just had so many fun brainstorming sessions, and at some point someone said owl, and then at some point someone said moonbird, and then the rest is history. I think none of us knew how big moonbirds was going to be. I mean, that was just shocking, and right time, right place, right team, right projects, right economy, everything, aligned. We were really lucky. And it was a lot of fun.
Okay, is there anything? It was quite a messy period, I guess.
Everything's messy, right? I mean, it seems everything seems straightforward, but the reality is it's like, there's a million things going on. It was just it was so exciting, but definitely bonkers. So
yeah, there was you described it in another podcast as dark times.
Yeah.
Around that period when you left the project at the Moonbirds. Is there, you mentioned on the other interviews that to boil it down, and sorry if I'm paraphrasing in the wrong way, or I don't
It's
remember
fine.
something correctly. You mentioned that you are an entrepreneur at heart, so it went down to you wanting to build your own thing, and yeah, that everything was good with Kevin, and it was on the best interest of Moonbirds also after the whole thing blew up for you to move on. Is that it, or is there something else, or?
Yeah, I mean, everything I've said publicly is the same as what I said privately. I think a good way to summarize it is this. You know, deep down, I am a founder entrepreneur. It's just like in my soul. And so I had asked Kevin, can I start up a VC fund on the side, just something small, raise some capital so I can, deploy into more NFTs because I thought it'd be really fun. And he said, yeah, of course, and a lot of executives have, funds on the side. It's pretty common. And so he said, yeah, go for it. Just, obviously don't ask any of the proof members to invest. And I said, yeah, of course, and so I had built 121G, my fund, on the side. It was all ready to go. And then the Moonbirds mint happened. And then before I launched the fund, and I can see you pin the tweet. I told everybody what my mint strategy was going to be for Moonbirds because I wanted to be really transparent about it because I thought, it's really important people understand what I'm going to do and why and when. I don't want anyone to be surprised here. So I laid it all out. This is how much ETH I'm going to put in. This is what I'm going to do. This is how long I'm going to wait until rarity is revealed. I wanted to be absolutely by the book and be very transparent. And I did it, and I guess, it's funny because what I've learned since then is perception, whether it meets reality or not, can be a problem. And so even though I know I didn't do anything wrong, I was very clear up front about it. I think the fact that some people don't, everyone's busy, so they may not see all of my tweets. They may not know everything I've said. And so when they see, Ryan Carson, the CEO of Moonbirds just, bought a super rare Moonbird on mint day, it could look bad. It looks like I'm sniping rares because I have knowledge or something. And I can see how it would seem like that. That's not what happened, but I can see now in hindsight why it would look like that. So I think the lesson I learned from that is just, even if I know I'm doing the right thing, think about how it could be perceived. And if it could be perceived wrongly, just don't do it because it's just not worth the FUD, honestly. And so I just thought, I'm just next time I won't do that because that was really painful. So, and I lost money on all those Moonbirds anyway. So it's like, oh, well. So that's what I learned through that experience. Like perception does matter, even if it doesn't meet reality. Number one. Number two, when you're at a project that's at the middle of the NFT universe, which Moonbirds is, everything you do gets scrutinized. So I launched 121G, the fund, like the week after Moonbirds launched because Kevin and Justin and I talked about it, and it was supposed to be no big deal. But what happened is like everyone thought, oh my God, Ryan has just launched a fund. Like, did he just take a bunch of the mint money to go launch his fund, or like what happened? And to me, that's hilarious because like that is so far from anything I would ever even think about doing that it's funny to me. But now in hindsight, again, perception matters, whether it's reality or not. And so I think people thought, something was going on. And Kevin and I just talked and we're like, you know what? I'm going to go do my own thing. Proof is going to be fine. I'll cheer you on. It's probably just best if we just part ways, and
You learned a lot, I guess, from this experience.
It was hard.
Mhm.
And everybody that knows me now, look at all of y'all who are amazing daily dosers in the crowd. Like, you know me and you know what I'm about, and you've seen my track record and I have integrity, but back then people didn't know. And so, hey, hindsight's 2020. So the hard part was I just got, fudded into the ground. Like some of the meanest stuff like I've ever heard. And some of the cruelest DMs you could possibly imagine. It was like, geez Louise, like this is bonkers. And, yeah, I had super dark thoughts, it was bad, and thankfully I have 3 sisters that love me and an amazing wife and a mom and dad who love me. And I just, dug in and said, hey, I
What
need help.
is uh, what is some character development and some insights you gained out of this whole story and maybe redemption arc that
Yeah.
you went through?
So, I mean, I learned that sometimes you can't get yourself out of a hole. Like you need help, and I think having people love me around me that could say, Ryan, none of that stuff is real. Like we know you, we know your character. This is just people on the internet. I think having that foundation, that reality check saved me. So like there's that. I learned that. And then, the other funny thing I learned is I just went private for a while on Twitter. And it was hilarious because all the FUD stopped. And what I realized is, oh, like everyone that's just cruel doesn't even follow me. Like they don't even care about me. Like that, so what is this about? So I went private for like 2 weeks, which was a breath of fresh air, and then went back public again, and it all went away. So those are a couple things I learned, and then finally I learned, started building the Daily Dose community, and then realized, gosh, I just deep down like building a strong community that's authentic, supportive, safe, genuine, friendly. It literally makes me happy. It's like it's like it's just the thing I love to do the most in life. And maybe that goes back to like the way I was raised in the church and like how I want people to be supported and empowered. And so and now, I'm leaning into the Daily Dose community, and every day sometimes I wake up too early because I'm so excited about the day. Like I woke up today at 3:30. I was like, let's go, I can get like an extra 2 hours of work done because I love what I do. So I guess we could all look at that and say, wow, life is such a roller coaster. And I was down in the bottom of a trough and I came out. So I just needed to wait. And I'm seriously, y'all, I see you in the audience. Like you are the reason that I can fly every day. Like I'm so empowered and excited and encouraged by the Daily Dose community. It just blows me away. I think I'm gonna cry. All right, let's keep going.
Yeah, no, thanks for sharing. I actually pinned just one tweet about, uh, you posted a transparency thread and then somebody came at you saying that you didn't do what you said you were going to do and blah, blah, blah. And, online it's so much easier to bully. Like cyberbullying is so much easier, and it's much easier to break down than it is to build up in any situation. So just maintaining your own resolve as to like what you are trying to build and for whom is really important. And I did want to ask about the Daily Dose community. What incentives do people have to join the community? I know you mentioned that you provide value, but in what ways?
Well, so the Daily Dose start out hilariously simple. I was every day, myself and John, who's an associate at the fund, we would do a Zoom call and we talk about the market, we talk about our portfolio and the news, and then it just occurred to me like, oh, this would be a great Twitter space because this is information everybody should know, and I think it's interesting. So why don't we do a Twitter space? And I called it the NFT Daily Dose. So it was just like occurred to me one day. That would be a fun name. And then we were talking, and John said, are we ever going to drop a project? And I was like, no way. Like dropping a project is so hard. Like it's like pain times 10. And you have to have a really good idea to do it, unless you're going to rug. Like doing a good project is actually way harder than anything in Web 2. So I was like, nope, not going to do anything. And then it was hilarious. I went to bed and I woke up in the middle of the night. I was like, oh my God, I know what we need to do. I know it. And it was like lightning. And I, for hours I was writing down ideas and testing the idea and thinking about it and examining it. And then the next day I was like, I know the idea. And I think it's gonna be good for the whole industry. And here's what it is. so we started talking through, and then it was like, oh man, we got to do an allow list. How are we going to do that? Oh, this is like max pain. And then I remembered, oh, G Money did POAPs for his Admit One project, and that was super cool because it really rewarded the true community. And I was like, oh, that would be great. Like, we should start dropping. And then I can't remember if it was John or me said we should start dropping POAPs on the show. I was like, oh yeah, like I don't even know how POAPs work, so I had to like go on the site and try it and figure it out. And I did a test one, and we dropped 10 on one of the daily doses, and it was fun. I mean, we were laughing about it.
When was that? When was the first pop that you
First
dropped?
pop, I think it was like end of September, maybe September 26th ish. And it was fun. Like we were laughing. I remember Gossamer was on the call, and Stacky was helping me co-host, and we were
How
just having
many
a good
people
time.
you had on that first show?
I think it was like a couple hundred, maybe.
Wow, 200.
Yeah.
You started with 200.
Well, but I have a bunch of followers, right? So it's not really fair. So, but it was
Yeah,
small.
but
and it was,
still, even people with followers, it's hard to get to
I,
have an audience. It's not that
yeah,
easy.
but
I can tell you firsthand
right.
how hard it is.
Well, but here's what I'll say, like, like my mom deserves a lot of credit because she said, and the Daily Dosers are going to be like laughing as I say this all the time, but she said, read the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. And I was like, I remember thinking, that sounds like a book like that's written by Satan. I mean, like, what? It sounds evil, right? Machiavellian. But she's like, no, trust me, read it. And I read it, and it just taught me one basic truth, like just care about what other people want. Like, and there's all sorts of ways you can do that. But like, if you help other people help themselves, like karma will happen. It'll work out, and then my dad always, taught me, hey, what's in it for the other person? What's in it for the other person? And so when I run spaces, I always think about what's in it for the listeners. All you out there, I see you, and I should be doing is saying, hey, throw a comment, throw a question in the comments so I can see you and hear from you all, everyone that's listening. But so I guess I try to pay attention to the audience because I want them to be included. So I started to do that, and then and then we did another space, and I think we did another 10 POAPs, and then the next one I was like, maybe we should do 100, and in 3 months we scaled to like 4, 5, 6,000 listeners, and we were dropping 5,000 POAPs a day, and we've minted 136,000 POAPs in 3 months. It's just bonkers. But we work our booties off. And I can see some of the crew, like Gigi's in the audience. I don't know if Clemente's here and John, but we work really hard at delivering value now every day to the Daily Dose audience because we care, and their time is so valuable. And so we work really hard at that. And I think that has created this authentic connection. So we're seeing, I see, Leslie's here, and she helps run Daily Dose spaces, and they're in Spanish, and she does a women's empowerment space, and and the community is doing all these things, and now we're trying to support them. So our goal is to, like I said, never extract value, always add value, lift up all these space hosts, do IRL meetups, and we want to create a global community that is inclusive and friendly and welcoming, so that other people who are thinking about Web3 can wander in, to a Daily Dose and feel welcome and excited.
Hey, that's really crazy. And I would wonder what insights you can offer us maybe to another aspiring Web3 media projects, maybe like Red Lion, to start or to grow better.
Well, I mean, I think doing this is great. I think I don't really understand why people do podcasts anymore. I'm on a lot of podcasts, so I'm thankful for the invitations, but I just feel like Twitter Spaces is if you're going to do a podcast, why not have it be a Twitter Space? I think that's one thing. Secondly, I think, just always putting your listeners first, whatever it is. I've always said, no matter what, I'm always going to take care of the Daily Dose community first, no matter what. And that will always be the rubric that I judge everything by. Like, well, okay, does this deliver value to them, or does this extract value? Does this feel good to them if they've been loyal, or does it feel bad? And so, is it fun or does it feel like work? And so I just use that decision tree to try to make the right calls.
Do you like doing media and being a media personality, an interviewer, a journalist, more than you like being an entrepreneur? Or is that the case now?
I was telling Jill this, my wife. I was like, oh my God, I love Twitter Spaces so much. Like, I just literally laugh and smile, and I have a blast like with the speakers. I have so much fun with everybody commenting. I love all the emojis. Like, to me, it's just, I don't know, it's just joyous. So whatever that is, I love that. And I just want to keep doing that.
Speaking of being inclusive of all sorts of communities, I'm working with a project right now that is targeted for children. So basically, it's Web3 education that onboards children. And I know you mentioned that you have a few kids. Is that right?
2 boys, yeah.
2 boys. Okay, so 2 boys. How do you imagine bringing them into the Web3 space?
Oh, they're
What do you
already
think?
here.
They're already there. All right.
So
What do they hodl? What are they hodling? Those bad
so
boys.
they're hilarious. They have ETH addresses. They have a little bit of ETH. Like I have them instead of buying. My dad was a financial planner, so I was really lucky to learn about dollar cost averaging and buying an index instead of specific stocks. So like I've taught them all that. So they have a little stock portfolio. It's tiny, but inside of a little it's called Green Light, which is like a little uh, it's like a little bank account for kids. And then obviously I was like, hey, there's this thing called the blockchain and it's going to change the whole world. Like here's how it works. And there's a cryptocurrency called, Ether. And so they buy little bits of it. And so, but the whole NFT thing is funny because um, they basically make fun of me. So, and it's
What
a
do they say? What do they say?
they're like, dad's the NFT wizard, and they laugh. It's not like a compliment. And I try to explain to them like, well, why wouldn't you want to own all these digital assets that you're grinding for in these games? Like, and they some they hear pay to win, right? And I'm like, this isn't pay to win, this is play to own. And they're like, yeah, whatever. But I think as soon as they realize that some of these things could be worth like $1,000, they're gonna be very, very, very red pilled. So we talk a lot about Chat GPT and AI, and I want to give Zeneca credit for that because he taught me. He really woke me up to like, oh my God, AI is happening now. I need to pay attention. So my sixth grader is now writing his reports using Chat GPT, and I don't think the school knows. So there's that.
Yeah. ChatGPT 3 is doing America's homework every day.
Oh my God. It's well, but you kind of think, well, why wouldn't it? I mean, if you're a kid, like seriously, you're gonna write 1,000-word report on like, the history of Portland, Oregon from 1983 to 1999 with sources? Nope. Just
Why memorize that if you know how to access it, right?
Yeah, it's like why? I mean, I use calculators. Like I'm not using a slide rule here, but that it's going to be wild. And I want to plug one of my favorite blogs called Wait But Why. Wait But Why is so good, and it's really long form content. And he's done these like big pieces on AI, but they're fun because he draws stick figures, so it's good fun.
I have said it also on other interviews that I am so jealous of kids nowadays.
Oh,
They got electric scooters, they have smartphones, they have PC at home, they are connected to the internet 24/7. Also on, yeah, and so many games, like they have
yeah.
everything. We growing up had a worn out VHS tape. I had to watch the same cartoon. Like, okay, I cannot complain, but compared to what they have, oh man,
I
like
know.
it's
It's
crazy.
It is crazy. It's amazing. And oh, by the way, so I'm looking at the comments now. I can see you all. So Dario's in the audience, by the way. Dario de Siena, and amazing punk that was key in getting back a lost CryptoPunk the other day. So I appreciate him. I'm gonna start reading some of these comments. Say hi to all of you. Appreciate it. Vino says can't sleep. Listening to this space at 3 a.m. You should be asleep, Vino. Come on, go to bed.
Dozers follow dozers.
Dozers follow dozers. Yeah, there's a lot of you out there. I love y'all.
Are you in New York in the East Coast or?
Close. Yeah, in Connecticut. So a couple hours
Okay.
outside. Yeah,
Got it.
it's great.
Yeah. I'm in Boston and
Hey.
yeah, right. I see Crypto Jesus is in the audience. So hey,
Oh.
Crypto Jesus, how you doing? And teacher 96 Katie, we've been creating our own Boston family in Web3 here.
I love it. Crypto Jesus has deep technical knowledge on
Yeah.
blockchain. Yeah, it's
Crypto
good
Jesus
stuff.
is brilliant. You hear?
He's hearting, clapping. We see you.
That's right. I think he's enjoying this.
Okay, so I'm going to open up the floor. I see we have one request. I don't know if you're happy to take a couple of questions.
Yeah, let's do
Ryan?
it. Of course.
Let's do it.
Oh, and Cass. Hello, Cass. I'm so happy you're here.
Got some fans out there.
Yeah, well, I was very absorbed on the interview. I didn't check how many listeners we have. We have 166 listeners, which is a big record for our tiny little humble podcast. So thank you
No problem.
for
It's all the
bringing
daily
such a
dosers.
large audience. Yes.
Appreciate all them.
Shout out to all the dozers. AMTK, how's it going? And also Cas Vegas, hello.
Hello.
Hello, just a moment, please.
MTK, we lost you. Cass, how's it going?
We might be like
Las Vegas is there.
snowboarding.
How you doing?
Hey, good seeing you.
I'm so
GM.
happy to reconnect.
Yeah. And GM Ryan, GM to the Red Lion team. I was actually in a really small room and someone from your guys' group talked about it and I was really intrigued. So I've just been recently following you guys before this room
nice.
came about. Yeah, the room.
Welcome.
Thank you. The room I was previously in was ADHD and how and why it's a superpower. And it was a really good combo.
Let's go.
I loved it.
Yeah, I feel like I should be super strong then. That's awesome.
I have a very hard time not interrupting every statement made here. It's just a natural thing, a superpower, I guess now.
And
I actually had a question too for Ryan because I think I don't know the word for it, but you expressed being able to comprehend things but out loud. Was that like being an external processor, or was there
yeah, I'm a verbal processor.
verbal
That's
processor? Me. Okay, I think I am that too. So yeah, those rooms are really good.
Nice. Yeah, it drives my wife crazy. I'm like, I just have to talk to you about this. Apparently, some people are using ChatGPT for this, but that's typing. I hate writing. I would like choose to speak or record a video a million times more than writing. So as soon as ChatGPT, as soon as I can talk to it, apparently it's pretty good. Like just bouncing ideas around. You laugh, but this is the future. We're all going to be chatting to AI friends.
So be nice to robots because they're coming after us.
Yeah. You know, if you remember from Silicon Valley, it was Guilfoyle who said about Rocco's basilisk thought experiment.
Oh, yeah.
You need to send emails that you love AI, so when they take over, they think you are friendly.
That's right. I always
they
think
keep you as a pet.
I think that all the time, yeah.
So I will be sending you an email, Dudley, saying that I love AI.
I like the robots. I like it. MTK, we see your hand. What's up?
Good evening, everyone. It's evening here in the UK.
GM.
GM. I heard your story in a couple of times here and there, but I never heard your story so complete. And while you were talking, I was thinking that Web3 and projects like Daily Dose will be actually a talent and opportunity accelerator. And if we would have to judge it by your story with Moonbirds, where you went there, you met those people, tried to build something, and then you went your own way. Imagine that out of Daily Dose community, that can be replicated over and over again. And if from each of these projects, 1 to 10 projects will rise, they will just start to grow exponentially, and this space will become so much richer in maybe in the time span of a decade.
I love that idea. That's awesome. Yeah, and we're trying to boot a little bit of that up just during the daily dose, right? So we encourage people to meet each other, look at the PFPs around you, say hi, follow them, reply to them, comment, like start building that network. But that's a cool idea, MTK. I like it. Thanks. Hopefully it's pretty late in the UK, right? Well, you're sort of 5 hours ahead of us, so probably time for bed.
It's like 9 o'clock. They're doing well.
Nice. D3, what's up? How's it going? I see you.
Hey, brother. I know you and I talk a little bit about this in DMs, but I wanted to ask you this on stage so that people can hear your voice and maybe get a bit of a perspective and maybe make you think about this. I don't have to tell you anything about the NFT space. I know that you've been in. We know what you've been part of, and so it's not that I'm educating you, but I know that you know enough to know that you are growing quite a large following, and you're doing the daily dose, but you're doing it with both people that are just involved in Twitter, but with a lot of people that can never lose sight of the fact that something is an NFT. You see what you're going through with your POAS. You see what you're going to go through every time you try to switch it. And if you start to reach out to 100,000 people across the world, all ages, I know you and I are the same age. I'm not a father figure to you, but as a lawyer, I'm trained to think this way. No matter what you do, somebody's going to second guess you. They're going to find a problem with it. You're going to have naysayers, no matter how many of us like you. You seem like a genuinely nice, kind person. And I think ultimately, as they keep coming, and then as they start trying to find fault with you and everything that you do, how do you prepare yourself mentally for that? I know you're happy. I know you like what we're growing, but how do you prepare yourself mentally for what I know you're going to face as you grow this project and as you get closer to not only October, but every step of the way as you grow this following, you're just going to face so much frustration. Have you thought about that? How you mentally prepare yourself and what you might be able to do to prepare for it?
I love that question. And you should get your doorbell, by the way.
I'm actually
there's
at the
pizza
office,
waiting.
Ryan. I'm about to have to meet with a client about a divorce, but I had to talk to you, man.
Let him wait on the door.
I appreciate it. Yeah, D3 is a lawyer. So, this is why I like being older. I have a lot of life experience, and I've dealt with a lot of ups and downs. I'm super privileged though, so I want to acknowledge that. I am at the top of the privilege, chain here, where I'm a healthy, tall, white male, that grew up with parents that had money. Like there's very little barriers I had to get through, so I just want to acknowledge that. But I'm old enough to have a lot of life experience, and I've started enough companies, and some of those companies were total failures. Some worked, some were okay. Went through Moonbirds, went through Proof, went through this firestorm afterwards. That I feel like I've done my reps. And honestly, there's not a lot that can shake me now, because I know who I am and I know what I want to do. And I also know my character, and I know that no matter what anybody says, that I have conviction and integrity. So it's kind of that belief. But then I've got a good support network around me. I've got an amazing wife. I've got wonderful family. I've got a great team, and I've got a community that's just unbelievable. So I think let's go. Like, I can't wait.
And I only asked the question, Ryan, because I wanted you to verbalize it, because
I appreciate that.
think, you know how it is. And look, Redline, thank you for letting me come up. I'm going to cycle down. And Ryan, I know that we're the same age. I know you don't need me in that way, but I'm here for you.
I
If you
appreciate
do,
it.
I'm always in your DMs. And I think that you do have the potential to build something very different. I just know that I've been in this space so long that people will never be able to lose sight of the fact that it's a quote unquote NFT. No matter how much you're trying to tell them to look beyond it, in the personal experiences I've already had, I've tried to tell people, look beyond this. They're
Yep.
just going to get caught up in POAPs and NFTs, and you're just going to struggle with that aspect of the space. And just having you verbalize it makes me know that you're on top of it. And I'll be there for you when you need me. So I appreciate it, Redline. Great show. Great to get Ryan in this kind of intimate setting. And I'll cycle down and I'll see Ryan tomorrow on Daily Dose.
Sounds good. Appreciate you, D3. Have fun in that meeting.
Yeah, get that guy off the door.
I see the hand from B Witty. How's it going?
Be witty. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. I see you're a Des Lucrece fan.
Oh yeah, definitely. I enjoy the art a lot.
I love his work. Sorry, carry on. I interrupted you.
No. I was listening, to your story when you were saying about your life and what you went through. I was just wondering, actually, initially I had one question. Now I have two, but I don't know. We probably don't have much time.
Go for it. We'll see.
So my first question would be, since you mentioned you are in such a privileged position, but you still went through a lot of things that taught you how to conduct yourself, and I see that you have a lot of heart. My question would be, what was the one thing that maybe one pain that you experienced in your life that taught you the most?
That is a great question. Boy, I mean, when my parents got divorced, that definitely shook me because, I thought there was this like foundation to the world and the way it worked. And when that kind of fell apart, I was like, wow. Well, and it was deeper than that for me because like I said, I grew up in a Christian home. And
how old were you?
Their marriage started to, I started to notice that it was kind of going sideways, fairly early on. But it finally happened, in college. And I think for me, it was actually like my worldview started to fall apart where I was like, wait a minute, these people said these things were true, but now they're not, sticking to these truths. And then other people I know are not being consistent. And then, so actually when my worldview kind of fell apart, like that was really hard. I remember I actually like blacked out, and was like, oh my God, I wonder if everything I believe isn't real. And I had moved to the UK, so I was kind of alone. Like I didn't know anybody. So that was pretty intense. And I would say I'm spiritual now, but I'm not religious. So kind of came out of that. But that was a big turning point. And then that's actually when I like doubled down on people because I'm like, oh well, I don't know what's going to happen after life, so why don't I just focus on like helping people in this life? And then that's when I started doing like that BD40 meetup, and then started caring about education. And I think that's where the Daily Dose comes from. So that's I don't know if that answers your question, but.
So, I mean, if I understood this correctly, I think the main event in your life that changed your way, how you look at life, was your parents, right? The divorce of your parents.
Yeah.
And so, see, now it comes to the second question, because I feel they're connected. Because I feel a lot of people nowadays, they're suffering from this loneliness, And when you mentioned that you think that podcasts are not the way to go forward anymore, you think Twitter Spaces are. I'm just wondering, is this related in any way, or do you see some sort of a vision? How can this evolve into more way of connecting directly with people and not just talking,
100%. Like you're reading my mind. I mean, the fact that we're connecting, across the world here, in a way that's very personal and very meaningful and is amazing. Like I really think it's an unlock for humanity, because it's a lot easier to be kind and hear, right? Because we can hear each other and we can feel, tone of the voice, and we can see emojis that people are putting up, and we can read the comments. Like, I think it's very powerful. I'm very, very excited about social audio. And I think I personally very much connect to it. And maybe that's why the Daily Dose, spaces are fun for me, because I really feel like we're actually connecting as a community. It feels great. I love it.
Just one Just one more thing to add. I also see that, because the daily dose is becoming bigger and bigger, so it's very hard to connect when there's a lot of people in one space. So I guess these local communities, like Daily Dose Asia or other small communities, they become more integral and more important because you can get a chance to share there more.
Exactly.
What do you think? What kind of vision do you have for this?
Yeah, I mean, you're reading my mind. So I think that true community can be built on top of two pillars. Pillar one is a shared audio experience. We evolved this way, around campfires and meals where we connect and we tell stories. And when we can do that, I think it draws people together. And Twitter Spaces, like we talked about, are literally that pillar. And then the second pillar is meetups, right? So then literal, like, I can shake your hand, I can hug you, I can share a drink, I can laugh. We can meet each other's families. Like, that's when, real connections and relationships are built. So my plan is to scale the Daily Dose global community across Earth with these two things. And so what we're doing is we're seeing, Daily Dose community members launch their own spaces. Like I said, Leslie's running a space. We're just seeing so many people. Silent Mode is running a space in Turkish. I could pick out others in the audience that are running these spaces. I know I saw some of our friends from La Daily Dose, which is in French. And so we're going to empower them to run high quality spaces and support them and train them. And then people will be able to connect in those smaller spaces. We're talking, 50 to 150 people in those spaces. And then we're going to empower people to do Daily Dose meetups. And I was talking to a friend about this, and she came up with this idea of, Daily Dose in a box, where you basically do a meetup and we kind of empower you to do that. And it's kind of decentralized in a way, but it's centrally supported. So that's the way I envision this rolling out. And I really believe there'll be hundreds of thousands of people in the Daily Dose family, across the globe, maybe even within a year. So really excited about that.
Okay, let's do a couple more questions from the people that are already here. If you have a few more minutes.
Yeah, and thanks, B Witty. Those are great questions. Appreciate it.
I
love it.
Thank you a lot.
No problem. Take care. 0x, how's it going?
Hey, what's up, Ryan?
GM.
Yeah, very nice interview. And actually, all the questions I had were already kind of asked, but I want to dig in. So great questions and great answers as well. Really enlightening. But I want to dig in a little bit more. So, this whole project you're starting and bringing us all together is, kind of happening in the realm of the Web3 space, and it's based on the ethos as well, being on the blockchain, being decentralized. But as you mentioned before, when the internet came around in the beginning, like, it was such a small community, everything was so exciting, and there were these endless opportunities. And I think something that like this must happen to this whole space as well. Like, blockchain will evolve. I hear people saying already things like, I don't care so much about decentralization. I would like, my wallet just to be, stored somewhere so it's safe, so I can't lose it. Yeah. And like, where do you think we're heading? And like, how do you think this will affect the strategy you have now for your project?
I really think we need Web 2.1 right now. And what I mean by that is what we're seeing work so well with POAPs. I mean, so POAPs are initially stored on a centralized database. They're not even on the blockchain, right? So it's the onboarding that's so delightful. You install the app and you click mint and you put in a code, right? And boom, you've got a POAP, and you don't even have to understand what the blockchain is, but it feels exciting and fun. And that mechanic, I think, needs to be replicated. So once that happens, then you can explain to people, oh, that thing that you just claimed, it turns out that you can mint it to this global decentralized database that nobody can ever change, and nobody can ever take it away from you. You just have to do, step 1, 2, 3, and then they do it, and all of a sudden they go, oh, this is kind of neat. So I think that's what needs to happen. And that's why I think Doodles, went with Flow. I think that's where we're seeing a lot of, folks focus on that kind of Web 2.1 feeling. So I'm excited about that. I think I'm bullish on that. And then, y'all, we just need to have a long-term perspective here. It's going to be a long time till Web3 actually happens, and that's okay. And we'll get there.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for stopping by. I guess we probably can do one more because there's one more hand. What's up, Lethal?
Hey, what's going on, Ryan? How you doing?
Good, GM. Thanks for stopping by.
GM. Yeah, definitely a daily doser here. Haven't been able to catch you guys as much in the morning just because my work schedule has changed. We're back in the office now. So, but I definitely tune in when I can. Great content as always. Thank you. So I do have a quick question. As someone who is looking to grow their career in Web3 and eventually maybe go into a full time, I have aspirations on joining like a founding team of a project. And with the launch, your successful launch of, the instrumental part that you played in the launch of Moonbirds, and now going into, the Daily Dose and what you're building, and it's being very community driven project. I'm very steadfast on having a business plan and executing it. As I'm working for these different projects in Web3, that kind of has always been my mentality. But when you're building a community-driven project such as yourself, you kind of have to be adaptable and flexible when it comes to new ideas. So my question to you is, how do you determine when you should either stick with your plan and execute it? Because I would imagine you have some idea of what you want to do. Or when do you start to pivot and listen to the community and maybe switch up your business plan based upon feedback and perspectives?
Ooh, that's a good question. So the exciting thing about the Daily Dose and the project we're dropping is I actually have a 10-year vision for both. So I have a very, very long-term vision for both. And it's because of the nature of those ideas that I think I can look that far forward. Daily Dose, I want it to be the most inclusive, friendly, supportive community in the world for Web3. Right? I want it to be global. I want to see people be supported and rise up and just launch successfully, right, into Web3. So that could be a 50-year vision, right? Like 10 for sure. And then the project we're launching is also, I actually know exactly what we need to do for the next 10 years. Now, I said this to someone else. It's like, okay, I know that we need to go from New York to London. And I have a plan for how to get there, but I guarantee you, we're going to start off in a boat, and then we're going to have to hop in a seaplane, and then we're going to have to, find a canoe, and then we're going to have to create a submarine, and then we're going to, have to sail, and then, hitch a ride. Like how we're going to get there is going to be bonkers, right? Because so much is going to change. So that's the way I look at it, knowing I know where we're going. I have no idea exactly how we're going to get there. And I'm going to rely on the community, for feedback and input, because that's the beauty of Web3 is like, we literally can hop in spaces with each other, and connect in a personal way. You can own an asset and have a voice, in that. So, so we can be really agile. And then I'll have to just mix. Like sometimes, the community will think we need to do X, and I know we need to do Y, and that's what leaders have to do, right? And I may not always be right, but I'll have to try. So that's not a specific answer, but I feel like it's the best, most authentic one I can give.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. And it's about finding the balance. And, I've just always been curious because, when I started my app, a few years ago, I was very steadfast on executing my business plan to a fault. So I was always curious, especially getting into Web3 and having aspirations of, being part of a founding team on a project. How do you balance executing your vision and your strategy but allowing the community to have input, especially if it's at the detriment of your business plan.
I know. And it's a hard call. And honestly, nobody knows. Like, that's the truth, is that, you don't know. I don't know. Nobody knows. But you can have things that you feel strong at. So I was literally telling this to Jill. I was like, wow, what's so exciting about building Daily Dose and this other project is I know that I know what I'm doing. Like, thankfully I put my reps in, for 20 years building communities, that I know exactly what needs to be done and it feels good. Like,
But also there is synergy. Sometimes the communities have the best ideas, right?
True. So you balance them, but it's nice as a leader when you find your kind of your sweet spot, you're like, oh yeah, cool. Like, this is gonna be good because I have the experience, I have the vision, I have the desire, and now we have this amazing community behind it. So, but like I said, we're going to build a submarine and then a boat and then a plane and then a canoe. And, we're going to have to do all sorts of hilarious things to actually, get there, but it'll happen.
Thanks, Ryan.
No problem. Yeah. Good to chat.
Before we close, I would like to ask you, I noticed on one of your previous interviews, you mentioned something about sailing. Do you have a boat? Do you sail?
Yeah. So during COVID, Jill and I and the kids were like, oh my God, what do we do? And we all went through this, and Jill was reading a book to the kids, called Swallows and Amazons. And it's this cute little book about sailing. And she was reading it to him, and I was like, man, I've always wanted to learn how to sail. I grew up in Colorado, so there's like no ocean anywhere.
Yeah, but there's a lot of sailors from Colorado.
Yeah, I don't think none of us are any good, but yeah, there's probably a bunch of us running around. So I just literally Googled, like, how do you learn how to sail? And so there's this cute little shack that was like on the river, and you could take a lesson. And we just started learning how to sail, and I just loved the analog nature of it. There, it's the wind, it's the current, it's the waves, and that's it. There's and it's just beautiful. Like, it really connects you to reality. And we eventually got a sailboat, and we spent time on it during the summer, and I just love the analog nature of all of it. So.
That's really nice.
It's fun.
I in my previous life I used to be a sailing yacht captain. So
hey, no way. Well, there you
yeah.
go. Okay, you know way more than I do then.
Yeah, but I picked up on that interview. I was like, yeah, I have to ask about that specifically.
Oh, that's so. We should talk sailing stories then, because man, I have some, and I bet you have some. I almost died last year. So
that's for the next episode when we host you next time during the year when you come back.
Heck yeah. I want to go out in whatever boat you're sailing. That sounds fun.
I used to do catamarans, 58 feet, stuff like that. Yeah.
Holy cow. That's the real deal.
Yeah, sailing the Caribbean, but it sounds cool, but it was a challenging lifestyle, providing charters and services. It gets old, but it was a beautiful lifestyle for quite some time.
Love it. That's cool. I didn't know that about you. That's fun to learn that.
Yeah. You think running a boat is similar to running a company? Because that's how I do at Red Lion.
Yep.
I found it.
That
skills translate.
Oh yeah, it does. Absolutely. And like having to make important decisions in a timely manner, and man, it can get hella stressful on a boat. I'll tell you that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's not like the Duran Duran video, right?
It's a whole different world. All right, thank you so much, Ryan, for coming into the show, and good luck on growing Daily Dose this year. I'm very excited to see the news you have coming up this year, and looking forward to our next talk.
Thank you so much. This has been a blast, y'all. I really appreciate all the support. I appreciate the great questions. All of you Daily Dosers, I see you. I'm thankful for you. I appreciate you. And let's get through this together. And I just want to encourage everybody that this is a long-term vision, and the more we can support each other and be kind to each other, the better. So like if you see a couple of people next to you, like, why not give them a follow, say hello. You never know if they're having a bad day and they need a little bit of a kind word.
Goes a long way. And Twitter algo is brutal lately, so for sure, don't forget to make someone's day.
Amen.
Uh,
Amen.
Thanks
Thanks, everybody.
everyone for listening, and we have another great show planned for tomorrow, another live interview with Domino, and we have our Gazette out. It's an open edition for this week, issue 124, gives you two NFTs with one transaction you get for $25. So it is a really, really good value. And yeah, have a great day. Thanks everyone for listening. Take care. Bye bye.
Bye, everybody. Take care.
Bye bye. Thanks. That was a great one.
Bye.